Hello everyone, my name is Omar Iglesias and this is the final project for TCN 4081, the network security class with Professor Pons uh, for the fall of 2017 semester. We're team number 10 and our project is about wireless router password cracking. So I'm going to be talking about the introduction of the project. I'm going to be talking about Wi-Fi protected setup, WPS, some features of WPS, and then my teammates are going to continue on talking about the different tools that exist, like Reaver, Aircrack, the different type of attacks that are out there, and I hope you guys enjoy. All right, so for the introduction, we have different home networks these days. A lot of home networks with the increased security risks. Now, with that being said, wireless home networks are becoming the most common in small offices and homes for different configurations. So it has become quite easy to quickly set up a network with advancing technologies, and one of these technologies is a Wi-Fi protected setup known as WPS, right? So that basically allows the user to connect different devices to the network with a touch of a button, literally. So this is convenient, for the increased uh, security risks that exist out there, and this is really susceptible to many attacks, as you will see in a minute, especially using brute force attacks. So Wi-Fi protected setup, WPS. What do we know about this? Well, it's easy to use. So since technology is advancing, most users want technology to be easy to use and manageable. But with that in mind, there's a trade-off for that. So the simpler it is, the more risks it can have, and that is something that hackers take advantage of from, especially from people that are ignorant to these security risks that exist. And with Wi-Fi protected setup, WPS, there exists two methods, right? So we have push button configuration, known as PBC, and we have personal identification number, as PIN. So with the push button configuration, we have basically a switch, like a button, right, in the router that you can just press physically or in a virtual environment, and you can connect to any network without having to actually type the SSID, the service set identifier, or the password for this network. So just by pushing the button, you connect in no time. And the second method is the personal identification number, the PIN. So that PIN is basically printed, right? Like the MAC address of the routers is printed in the device, usually in the back, in the sticker. And this PIN is actually is susceptible or weak to brute force attacks. So with that being mentioned, anybody can actually have access if the router has this weakness, right? And so the PIN basically has 8 digits in length. The first 7 digits are basically the combination of digits that the different tools use, like Reaver. We're going to present this tool later on in the presentation. So Reaver uses this tool to actually get the PIN. And the last digit of the PIN, the 8th digit, is actually a checksum of the previous 7 digits. So in total, you have 10 to the 8, which makes 100 million combinations possible when trying to implement brute force in this sense. And it is known that this process can take between 8 to 10 hours to be achieved in that manner. And so, with that being said, Wi-Fi protected setup has, this is one of the main weaknesses regarding this PIN to these attacks. Now, Wi-Fi protected setup, WPS, has 3 different devices in a whole network, right? So the first device is known as a registrar. So a registrar is basically a device with authority to issue or revoke access to a network. You have the second, which is an enrollee. An enrollee has, is a device that is trying to join a wireless network, right? And then you have the AP, which is the process point. The access point, which is a function as a proxy between the registrar and the enrollee. So it's basically like a bridge between the first two, registrar and enrollee. Right. So now I'm going to give the word to my teammate Michael, who's going to talk about the different type of attacks.
Hello everyone, my name is Michael Oliva. I will be presenting the different types of attacks. So the first one is a brute force attack. Brute force is a cryptography attack based on a trial and error method used by application programs or hacking tools to decode encrypt data such as password or data encryption standard keys. Rather than an intellectual strategy, brute force is an exhaustive effort employed by the attacker. Brute force cracking is the process of going through all possible combinations of legal characters in sequence. Brute force is an infallible, although the time-consuming approach, although it might be able to gain access to the account or environment eventually. A brute force attack can take up to 4 hours to months or even years. The time to complete an attack depends firstly on the password or encryption strength, and secondly on how well the attacker knows the target system, and thirdly the power of the computer or network of computers used to perform the attack. There are different levels of complexity to brute force attacks. An example of simple brute force attack is to use a dictionary of commonly used words and passwords and cycle through those words until it gains access to the victim's account. A more complex type of brute force attack involves trying every key combination until the correct password is found. To go through a total number of possible combinations of letters, numbers, and symbols can take a very long time to complete. So then the second attack is the dictionary attack. Security is a major area of concern when related to information on web. Many website databases contain details of millions of users. Therefore, it is important for any website to ensure security for all user data storing. Nowadays, most web applications now claim users to add digits, symbols, and special characters along with their password to make it more strong and complex. Similarly, some users create a strong and long password by repeating a dictionary word 2 or 3 times. Dictionary attack apparently is the most used method for cracking password hashes because of Paul's analysis shows high frequency usage of dictionary words. A dictionary attack gives much fast and successful results while cracking hashes. It uses enormous dictionary files containing millions of possible passwords or combination of dictionary words. The hash value of each password is the dictionary file is calculated and compared with an input hash value of any unknown user password. The match found tells the plain text in dictionary corresponding to the hash value, which will be the same as the input password. This method is faster compared to other methods for attack. Also, currently, most of the websites do not accept simple dictionary words to create a password while registering new accounts. This is because dictionary attacks easily crack such simple passwords. A pattern-based dictionary attack is called as an improved dictionary attack. It is different from ordinary dictionary attack because of the basic dictionary file used for attack. A usual dictionary attack uses a large base file containing millions of possible passwords, which are simple dictionary words. In contrast, a pattern-based dictionary attack uses an enormous size file containing more passwords than a simple dictionary file. There is a character tree extractor which is used for storing password in a dictionary file. Methods use pattern types are identified from the input password, and it is checked whether it is a dictionary word or not. A word is found in the character tree by doing a search if the input password contains any dictionary words. The character tree is updated by adding words that are newly recognized. So then this is a representation of the character tree structure dictionary store for passwords. Then at the head of the chart, we have a root file for the attack. Now next, the next team member, Jorge, will be presenting the other type of attack, the rainbow table attack.
Hello, my name is Jorge Concepcion, and I'll be talking about the rainbow table attacks. A rainbow table is simply a compilation of plain text passwords and their hashes, usually in various formats, such as MD5, SHA1, SHA2, or SHA256, amongst others. Um, they are usually saved into databases, which make the search process very quick. The hashing algorithm is a one-way function that converts any given input, usually text in the case of passwords, into seemingly random set of characters. When an application needs to create a combination of username and password, such as when a user registers on a website, the username is stored together with the password and other data. However, the password is passed to the hashing algorithm before being stored, and the output of this algorithm, the hash, gets saved into the database table. Since it is a one-way function, even someone with full access to the database cannot tell the real password from the hash. This is the reason for the existence of rainbow tables. They are freely available online, and some can be even bought for offline use as a full database on a hard drive. Now I'm gonna talk about River. River is an open source software that was created to exploit routers that have a WPS enabled. It keeps track of the pings used by keeping all the possible values in an array table. It then iterates through every possible combination until it finds the correct one. It also includes a sleep method, which allows to take a break between attempts so that the router does not lock out the hacker. There are many routers in the market that are extremely vulnerable to many hacking attacks. However, even though these routers are prone to hacking vulnerabilities, consumers can still make the mistake of purchasing one of them, and as a result, they can be victims of many wireless attacks. The Linksys Range Plus wireless router model WRT110 is an example of a vulnerable router. The user can make security modifications on the router's interface, which makes it highly vulnerable. WPS can be enabled on this router, which could be susceptible to a brute force attack if one or more of the network access points do not guard against the attack. River takes advantage of the existence of WPS vulnerability. This is a really available feature in most routers, since River does not use a dictionary files to engage in a brute force attack of a password. It does not matter how strong or long is it. River would eventually crack the ping if WPS is enabled. The process could take from 4 to 10 hours to complete. In order for River to work, the router security mode needs to be set to either Wi-Fi protected access WPA or Wi-Fi protected access to WPA2. This is a picture of the Linksys Range Plus wireless router model WRT110, which is highly vulnerable to the River attack. And this is a screenshot of a River interface running on a script on Linux. And we can see at the bottom of it the ping number for the router, the passkey password, and the SSID of the router.
AirCrack is a program used to crack web WPA and WPA2 keys. To crack the web keys, it uses mainly two methods, the PTW and the FMS core K method. The PTW method works in two phases. During the first phase, aircrack only looks at the ARP packets, and if it can, it cracks the key using only those packets. If it cannot crack the key, then it uses all the packets that it found on the traffic. This method can only work with 40 and 104 bit keys. However, this method is faster because it only looks at fewer packets than the regular method of looking at all the packets. The second method, which is the Core K FMS method, uses data that has been precompiled, and it brute forces the key until it matches the key on that data. Aircraft can also use dictionary attacks, and in the case of WPA or WPA2 keys, only this kind of dictionary attacks will work. Aircraft also works independently from River, but using the aerodump -ng command, aircraft can be used to crack WPS security, which is using a pin to connect the device and the router. This is a typical output from aircraft running on the terminal. Here it shows many information about all the networks found, starting with the BSSID, which is basically the MAC address, the power in decibels, the number of beacons used, the cipher used, and the type of authentication used, and finally the ESSID, which is the name. Here, highlighted in white, we can see the network that was used to crack the WPA2 key. Another feature that experts recommend to turn off on Wi-Fi networks is the transmission of the SSID, the name of the network. It is recommendable to hide the name of the network so hackers cannot easily find our network and try to crack it. However, there are tools such as Kismet that can be used to identify networks even if they are hidden. For example, in River, we can use the following command, River, which is the name of the command, -I, and then we specify the interface used, which is usually WLAN 0 or the like. -B is another switch where we can specify the MAC address that we want to connect to. C, which is the channel ranging from typically 1 to 11, and finally -E, which is the network, the name of the network that we want to attack. And in this case, hiding the SSID really doesn't do anything for us because any attacker will be able to find our network. This is the interface that we are presented with when we use the tool. Here we can see all the networks that the tool has found, and it gives us many options like the number of channels, the frequency that it uses, the size of the packets, and obviously the type of router that it uses, the interface where the network was seen, and that's another way that security by obscurity works in many cases, but it's not really foolproof.
I'll be talking about the prevention of the virus attack. As we know, every household is connected to the internet through a router wirelessly, and today we use routers across the whole world. That's something that we have to secure in a household the most. Many routers use still the WPA and WPA2, which is the most secure, 256-bit encryption, and that one, it will prevent most of the attacks, but also depends on the user itself to go on and do the extra mile and also add components to your network so it will be secure enough. Some of that component can be a MAC address filtering, so you will see who is actually who has access to your network,
as well as a firewall protection on your network, and those are some steps that can be taken in order to prevent your router and your network at your house. Also, we can see the WPS is always an alternate that has to be disabled in order to be secure if it's still part of your router. What it does is many hackers can connect to it and send a signal, send a call for the router to give an acknowledgement, and once that transition is doable, then the hacker has complete control over your router. So if you do have that the router, you should be able to disable the WPS in order to be more secure. Other methods that we can do is changing the password of the Wi-Fi and changing the name of the network if you've been compromised before, and other options that a hacker can be introduced into your network through the router is also actually doing social engineering. If the hacker can somehow get access to the name of your network, can somehow implement something with there's something that they can do, that they can put a name as a ghost on the air and make you connect to their network with your name. Once you do, you put in the credentials of your own network, and you're basically giving them full access to your network. So that's something that you have to be aware of. Who are you connecting on the internet wirelessly, and what transitions are you doing on the internet on those unsecure networks. Most of the new cell phone device will alert you when a network is not secure enough because it doesn't have a password or it's just an open network. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And there's been many hacks that are out there, many attacks that have been performed, and it's possible. We just want you to make sure how to secure your network and your router specifically in order to secure your data. In conclusion, we see how the history of the network security has worked, how many hacks have been implemented lately, and the level of security has been rising up in order to protect the data that is put out there on the internet. We see how many companies and how many enterprises have been hacked and how many leaks are out there, but we don't want to just put it as a big picture of only those companies get attacked. We also want to make sure that you understand that your network is also at risk if you don't implement these steps to strengthen your network enough. And those steps that I went over, how to use a WPA tool on the previous slide, and also how to implement your network with MAC address filtering and a firewall that will prevent you from being a victim of a hacking later on.